why don't we start with just the top line? What was your big takeaway from Tuesday's elections from the results we've seen?
I thought it was a better night for gun owners than for the GOP more generally, both from how some of these races turned out and then just, where we're going to stand, I think, after all of the other races have been called. The red wave was there, but it wasn't equally applied in every state. I remember the last time I was on, I remember you and I talking about New York and trying to, I think you or I, maybe both of us, sort of compared New York to Virginia last year and, wondered, okay, well, would there be enough of a red wave to, unseat Kathy Hochul? I mean, look, New York's a lot bluer than Virginia is. And so the answer was no. But in a state where Andrew Cuomo won by 22 points 4 years ago, Kathy Hochul is going to win by like 6. So there was, we've saw, I think, 3 Democrats from New York's congressional delegation were defeated. So we did see some down ticket, I think, wins for gun owners. And again, a lot of those places, a lot of those districts were upstate New York, Long Island. Places where, I think you've got a lot of people who are really ticked off about the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, quote unquote, in the attempt to go after their right to keep and bear arms. I don't think it was the only issue, obviously, but I think it was an issue that hurt Hochul in New York. Well, let's just go over the top lines real quick, right? Yeah. What we know now, right? Because I do want to get into some of the how do we judge these outcomes based off what the expectations were? Because I think that's a really important extra step you got to take when you're looking at election results, right? Like you're talking about here with Hochul. But first off, it seems this hasn't been called yet as of Friday when we're talking about this, but it seems very likely that Republicans will take control of the House, but not by a very wide margin. And it's now with the call in the Arizona Senate race, it's clear that Republicans will not take control of the Senate. They could still get to another 50-50 split, depending on how Nevada goes and the Georgia runoff ends up. But they won't have control of that body. And then you had a number of these key races that we talked about before the election. So New York obviously got Hochul held on to win, but only by a thin margin. You had Beto lose tremendous, by 11 points in Texas to Abbott. And then you had Kemp defeat Abrams again, but by, I think that was about 9 points in Georgia, which is significant as well because Georgia is more of a purple state. There's 2 Democratic senators and the Democrat running for re-election right now is ahead of the Republican. Warnock's ahead of Walker, even though they're going to runoff. So that's perhaps the most impressive win of those 3, would you say? Yeah, I think so. Although I think they were all, impressive because of the margins that we saw, right? And this is something that I think you and I both talked about in our post-election analysis is that, Democrats ran this message that constitutional carry was extreme, right? That was sort of one of their issues along with abortion was constitutional carry in these states. And I think what we saw is that constitutional carry is not nearly as controversial as the gun control lobby would like it to be because, 9 governors who signed constitutional carry into law were on the ballot on Tuesday.
And they all won, right?
And they all won. And I don't even think it was close. I think Kemp's race might have been the closest.
Because Abbott and Kemp both signed it as well.
Right. And so, this was supposed to be the election cycle, according to Peter Ambler of Giffords, where Democrats, showed that they could win on gun control. And I just don't think that that's the case. Because, again, when you look at, first of all, what issues were most important to voters, gun control was behind, inflation, was behind abortion. It was tied, I believe, with crime. And not everybody who thinks about or considers gun policy to be their most important issue is going to side with gun control, right? There are going to be a lot of, Second Amendment supporters who say this is my number one issue, but that's not a vote for an anti-gun agenda. And I'm looking around. I mean, look, we can talk about Colorado 3 with Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
But
Which we should, yeah.
I'm trying to find that race or campaign that says that allows the gun control lobby to say, aha, look, this proves that, we've got a winning message and Americans side with us. I don't think that's what this midterm showed. But as you pointed out in your commentary, I don't think that this was a resounding enough election night for segment advocates that it's really going to cause Democrats to reevaluate the relationship with the gun control lobby. I think it's still going to be full steam ahead going forward.